Okay, so I'm currently standing in the workshop of the Playhouse Theatre, and I just wanted to take a quick moment before things got really crazy, because they will very soon, to let you guys know what this video is going to be about. The boys' dressing room. Today we're running a matinee show, and then we've got an evening show as well. So during the matinee show, I'm going to be on stage as one of the dwarves, but I'm also running playback remotely via a walkie-talkie. So on my phone, I have my script, which is annotated with all of my tech notes, all of my playback notes, and then I also have AbleSet on my phone, and it just lets me see what's happening on the computer in real time. And then over in the box, which I'm going to cut to now, I have AbleSet running, which is controlling the whole Ableton session with all of our tracks and cues. And then I also have another copy of the script open at all times for our sound guy to look at. Usually I run sound, I run mics and playback, but today I'm standing in for one of the actors on stage, which means somebody else gets to do it. So you get to see how I support him in that role. Camera rolling, sound speeding, take 14. I realized if I'm going to tell the story, I need to tell the whole story. Snow White to Pantomime was a lot more than just a show for me. It was more than what happened on stage, more than what happened backstage, more than what happened in the sound booth. The most important part of Snow White to Pantomime was what happened in the parking lot. About 3 shows into our run, somebody has suggested to our director that we have a prayer circle in the parking lot before each and every show. For anybody that was welcome, we would go and we'd stand and we'd laugh and we'd share jokes, and then we'd pray over the show. We'd pray for safety for all the cast and crew members. We'd pray that there would be less or no technical issues. We prayed that God would ultimately allow our lights to shine brighter and give us the strength to shine brightly, so that God's glory could shine through. And that last prayer kept coming up over and over and over again. And it's almost as if God was using that prayer to speak to me. It felt like God was using that prayer that people kept praying again and again to answer a prayer that I've been praying throughout this year. But we know that context is king, so let me back it up a little bit. Last year and the year before, I got to work for a church as their worship and family pastor. And it was a really cool experience. I got to meet some incredible people that are dedicated to the kingdom and that are dedicated to one another in fellowship and in care. And it was a really cool job as well. It was great being able to wake up every day and actually go and do something that felt like I was serving God each and every day. But I kind of got caught up in this idea that my 9 to 5 was building the kingdom of God. And it began to create this space in my head, this very egocentric space in my head where I felt like I was doing something righteous and holy every single day, which, yes, to a degree, but probably not every single day. By the end of last year, I moved back home and I left that church and I started my studies again just because it was something to do. And the first 6 months of this year has been such a crazy journey where I've spoken to God time and time again. And it's been a journey of wondering and wrestling with God. And the thing that kept coming up over and over and over again was, God, what do I do with my time? What do I do with my career? What do I do with my future? Like, you've given me all these gifts and talents. How do I use them? I asked God if God would give me the opportunity and the permission to pursue creativity, knowing full well that I love attention, that I love standing on stages, I love being in the spotlight. I prayed that prayer on the one end, knowing that God has given me all these gifts and talents that I get to use and that it is a privilege to use. But on the other hand, I prayed that prayer also being kind of afraid that, like, what if God lets me do this thing and it's super successful and I get into a routine and I get into a habit and somewhere along the line I lose God. That's been my biggest fear this year. That's been the biggest point of anxiety, because for the first time in my life I felt like I don't have a plan for the rest of my life. I've known exactly what I wanted to do since I was 17, and that was ministry. Now I'm starting to realize that ministry is a lot bigger than working for a church. So yeah, I spent a good chunk of this year praying and asking God if I could be an artist. If He'd give me permission, but also give me the strength to do it well. To do it with keeping Him at the center of it all, where He belongs. And ultimately I realized I have to try certain things. I have to test the waters, I have to see, I have to step into something, discern if it's right, and step out of it if it's wrong. So I started a band, and then I joined a choir, and then somewhere June, July, one of my friends posted on their WhatsApp statuses, they said, Snow White to Pantomime auditions. And I was not going to audition. I knew very well that I was not going to do that. Learning lines is really difficult. But I sent my friend a message and I said, hey, do you need crew to help move set pieces backstage? And my friend very graciously said, no, we don't need that. What we do need is an assistant musical director. I didn't know what that entailed, so I said yes. And then I started looking up musical directors in theaters, and I started to see all these really professional, really skilled musicians learning a lot of music so that they could teach it to a band or an orchestra. And in my head I was like, oh no, what have I committed to? But then as the show started to run, we realized actually that's not necessary, and we probably don't have the budget for that anyway. But throughout rehearsals and into the show, we started to build things that I was very familiar with. I learned how to build a playback system in Ableton Live, where I was running tracks and sound effects, and I had it all laid out and organized. I had to work with computers, which I'm very good at because I've been doing it for so long. And I got to do sound and mix mics, which I'm kind of used to from a church background, but I got to learn what it's like to do that in theater. Yeah, just talking about the show is making me really happy. I'm gonna let the rest of the video play. I have a short announcement at the end, and I'm really excited. Enjoy. The first part of my job as assistant musical director was to make sure that all the microphones were working. This involved a sound check before each and every show, where we'd ask the actors and actresses to speak loudly and clearly, to project well, but also to give us their loudest line in the show. Can I get a stop shoe?
Stop! Shoe! Desist! Be gone!
Thank you. Fairy G.
Fairy G in the house!
We love Fairy G. In the scene, I'm already dressed and I have my makeup on, which means all I had to do was step out of the box, make space for everybody else to move in, go pray, and we could get started with the show. Whenever there's a cue that needs to happen, I can basically just hop on the walkie-talkie, tell Tristan to run the cue, and I'll see it happen. And it just works. So Tristan's in the box running cues for the dame's introduction, and I'm about to cue him for Shake Your Groove Thing. And then after listening to every word I say is Shake Your Groove Thing.
Say again.
Shake Your Groove Thing now. So once the song gets going, I can kind of get my bearings again. For the most part, I know where all the main parts of the songs are, so I'm just chilling backstage, saying hi to cast and crew, just having a good time, really enjoying myself. And just waiting for the next section, and then I cue up what's coming next. I give Tristan a heads up for anything that might be important. and sneeze. Sorry, Sluggy. I want to take a second to interject again. So this scene was really important. It's the first time we see the dwarves walk on stage, and usually it's a really big reaction from the audience. And it was a lot. It was very difficult for me to get the hang of this at first. I'm not used to being on stage in an acting role, so it took me quite a while to memorize. I think I only had 5 lines in the entire show, but it took me a while to memorize all the placing, the blocking, and all the choreography for the dances. But I'm really grateful to my fellow dwarves, my dwarf siblings, for taking me in and for having my back and for reminding me of things. And if I got lost or if I looked lost or looked puzzled, somebody would always find me and they'd be like, hey, Laurie, don't forget, like, we're doing this. Yeah, I owe Ali a massive apology because I kept dropping him. So if you're looking at the scene, I'm the pink dwarf and Ali is the blue dwarf. Ali is really tall and he's really heavy, and there were multiple times where we're on stage and I was supposed to catch him because he falls asleep, and I didn't. So yeah, I'm sorry, Ali. But yeah, once again, I'm very grateful for this experience, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on stage again very, very, very soon. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the scene and enjoy me dancing around with everybody else.
Very shy. Hey! And that's just like you. Look, there's our cottage. Just over there. Consider yourself at home.
It took me so long to get this marching right. I don't know. You'd think that as a musician that I'd have better rhythm and better timing and better memory for this stuff, but I really don't. So now that you've seen the whole video, the announcement is that because of Snow White and Pantomime, because of spending a year discerning and praying and trying to figure things out, I've decided I'm going to be pursuing art and creativity as a career for this entire year. I'm giving myself the year to test it, to discern, to explore, to navigate, to pray through it. And if it works, then we'll do it again next year. And if it works after that, then we'll do it again the next one. And so forth until God says no more. I think that's the best way to approach this right now. I'm really, really excited. Can't wait. main focus for the year is going to be film scoring and film composing and building a business. And I'll be chatting to you guys and showing you guys that process and how I go through that. It's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this behind the scenes video was fun, was entertaining. I can't wait to be back in the theater again. See you guys in the next one.